Welcome to my NIU presentation. Today we're going to specifically talk about my KNPE internship in kinesiology. My name is Alexis Pedraza, and I would like to share with you how I chose my internship site and experience. A few years ago, I had found my passion for real estate and decided to get my realtor's license and work towards becoming a trustworthy realtor in my area. Later down the road, I closed a few sales, but not as much as I hoped. I felt that I was lacking somewhere and I wanted to learn more. I ended up finding a company that does home evaluations for banks. That office is located in Mount Prospect. I was able to be a realtor at my current brokerage and work with this company as an assistant. When I first started, I was very busy working 10 to 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. There was a huge learning curve that I needed to surpass, and it was very stressful, challenging, and rewarding when all said and done. Fast forward to more recent times, things started to slow down in real estate. As interest rates went up and inflation went up, the less buyers there were in the market, hence less activity. Even refinances were low. This was the first time I realized I'm working in an industry where when the market is slow, you won't be making as much, as opposed to when you have a busier time in the market. And I am okay with that. I'm pretty good at managing my money, and I had enough saved for a rainy day or two, or three. Nonetheless, with slower times brewing, I decided this was a good time to get back to NIU to complete my internship. One of the reasons I chose my site was for convenience. Since my office was located in Mount Prospect, I thought it'd be a great idea to find something near me. Originally, I was thinking about going to export since I had worked there in the past, but then I realized it wouldn't be any different and I'd pretty much be going through the same process that I've done in the past. The closest export to me was about 15 minutes away, which isn't bad, but I did find an LA Fitness that was closer. This was a different gym, yet another well-known brand that we've all heard of, and I thought it'd be great to compare the two. I actually got a membership there just for my own health, since I wasn't really as consistent as I used to be. I got a membership, started training, and going 1 to 2 times a week just to get back into the swing of things. As the idea of doing my internship resurfaced, I decided to talk to the manager of the location. His name is Alex. He's in charge of sales, marketing, and the personal training staff. He pretty much runs the whole shop. I asked him about the internship opportunity for my school and if he would allow me to participate in his gym. He told me why I chose LA Fitness, and I'm someone who tends to be straightforward, so I told him it was convenient for me because of where I worked. I wanted a different gym to learn from other than exports, and I wanted to work with a different clientele. Working with clientele at export in said city should be different than a clientele at LA Fitness in another city, right? Anyway, I also told him about my previous experience as an athlete growing up playing football, basketball, soccer, rugby, and even rugby at NIU. I told him about all the classes that I've taken and all the hands-on experiences that I've done through NIU. I stated if he was to accept me as his intern, he wouldn't be getting somebody who has zero knowledge in the field. He would be getting someone who has a great base to help his business move forward. Once I told him about all my experience, he said what needs to get done for us to get started. And so the process began. As we were completing the paperwork, we got to the point where I needed to list clear objectives that I wanted to learn during my internship. The main one that I kept referring to was leadership, but I also wanted to develop teamwork, delegation, and communication. I was also interested in producing results, being good at your craft. When we talked about these skills, Alex seemed very confident that I would have no problem learning any of these, as he mentioned Brad, his head trainer. Brad has been a personal trainer for 10 years, and he is the head trainer at their location and has many clients. Alex told me I'd probably be spending the most time with him, which I did throughout. It was also at this point we started talking about my own career in real estate and how I would like these skills to carry over after chit-chatting for a bit back and forth. He brought up a good point about my schedule. I told him I was very flexible and my job requires me to do things early in the mornings or later in the afternoons, pending on the clientele needs in my own business. I was hoping he would be okay with this because this wasn't discussed in the beginning, and I was hoping it wouldn't cause me to lose the internship. I reassured Alex that I would know in advance. I usually know my schedule 48 hours beforehand and could let him know. I was happy to hear that he said that was plenty of time since most clients schedule their sessions in a week in advance or are already set up for the month. If anything, he can count on Brad being here for me. All said and done, my first week approached quickly. I remember the first week being a long week. I don't think I had any work for the weekday for my own real estate business. I remember we got an introduction to the gym and I was able to meet some of the staff outside of the trainers. I cleaned the gym and started shadowing trainers. As the weeks went on, I got introduced to other trainers, and over the course of my internship, I shadowed them as well. The most hours were definitely spent with Brad. During the first few weeks, I pretty much shadowed the majority of the sessions very hands-off. I decided to keep my mouth closed and ears open, just so I could soak in all the information and take everything that was going on from not only the trainer's point of view, but also the clients, so I can hear their needs and how the training will be adapted. Some days were busier than others, and as the days got really busy, some of the trainers would ask me to find their clients, check them in, and help them with warm-ups and cool-downs. So if Brad was in the middle of finishing up a session at 5:55 p.m., and his 6 p.m. client showed up, I would go find his 6 p.m. client and have them warm up on a treadmill or elliptical, etc. As time hit the hour, Brad was with his 6 o'clock client and I would help the previous 5 o'clock appointment with cooldowns and checking out. Usually the client would be by themselves. This way it's more effective for Brad and his business, and it gives me something to do a little more hands-on. I really enjoyed this part of the internship because it reminded me a lot when I used to be a trainer at Export. When you're training the client, it really is work and you're on go, go, go. Doing your best to motivate your clients, inspire them, keep an eye on their technique, making sure they're doing things correctly and safely, timing the rest period, and checking off all the boxes on the list during a session. When it came to warm up and cool down time, this was a good opportunity to just chat with the client and get a little more personable with them. At this point, I got to see how much of a leader Brad really was. He takes the initiative and really runs his training program as his own personal business. As a real estate agent, I'm pretty much doing the same thing but in the real estate industry. One of the things I found admirable about Brad regarding leadership is his accountability. He is pretty much accountable for his own clientele, the programs, their success, their failures, and his own paycheck for the time he's there at LA Fitness. No one really checks up on him or gives him orders like a regular job. He pretty much has to be in charge of everything himself, and he does an excellent job of doing just that. Towards the middle of the internship, I started realizing I'm kind of doing a lot of repetitive acts and not doing a whole lot of new things. In this case, I decided to be a little more proactive and asked Brad if he could give me some type of task or something to do besides what I've been doing. We talked a little bit about what I really need to be doing for the internship, and for the most part I was getting it done with shadowing and the hours, but then it hit me about the artifact. I did receive a couple of papers and documents from what the gym had to offer clients, such as flyers and brochures. But I thought it'd be a good opportunity to get something a little different, and this is when Brad had the idea of creating a 4-week knee rehabilitation program for one of his clients. For the privacy of his client, we'll just name him John. From what Brad told me, it sounded like John just got the okay to start working out again, and he would be seeing Brad in a couple of days. John was in a car crash and had torn ligament in one of his knees. I wasn't exactly sure which ones they were, so I kept them all in mind. Brad wanted me to create a 4-week program for John, and that's exactly what I did based on what he told me. The day comes when I meet John, and John seems to be in pretty good shape. Apparently, John was just on vacation and was returning for his sessions. He had been okay to work out for the past year and a half, which made me realize my program wouldn't be as effective. But I guess Brad left that out just to see how I would handle someone who just got the okay to work out. I didn't mind the challenge. It was something fun to do. John was in such great shape to the point where he can do plyometrics such as jump shrugs, jump rope, side skiers, and box jumps. I would think someone early in the program will stay away from plyometrics, especially after being sedentary for 6 months. Nonetheless, I was happy for John's progress and can see he and Brad have a great working relationship. As more time progresses, I noticed towards the end of the year we get a lot more prospects or people wanting to join the gym. I was fortunate enough to shadow a few trainers with different skill sets. For example, Charlie was one of the newer trainers, and he actually didn't last the whole internship program that I was there. Charlie had an assessment, and one of the things that I mentioned as a skill that I wanted to develop was effective communication and clear construction. The thing is, Charlie is very knowledgeable in the industry. I've had a few chats with him. However, when it comes to relaying the information to a client, he would seem to stutter, be silent for a moment, and also sometimes sound like he would make things up as they went along. I knew Charlie, so I would trust him as a trainer. However, if you're a new person just meeting Charlie for the first time and that was your pitch for him to be your potential trainer, there was a lot of uncertainty that I saw in the prospect's eye that really didn't gain their trust. Brad and Mark, on the other hand, are really good at being articulate and explaining their knowledge to their prospects. One of the things that I found surprising was the 2 different philosophies each trainer had and how successful they were. To give you a quick example, Brad focused on nutrition beyond everything else, and he really felt that if you can change the client's diet just to be a little more healthier, they will see the results they were looking for no matter what program he wrote. On the other hand, Mark focused more on mobility and flexibility and the core. He thought if he can make the fundamentals of a person's body very strong with optimal mobility, then they will succeed in a workout program with minimal risk to injury. Both different philosophies, however, both were effective, and who am I to say which one is better than the other? That's for the clients to decide. That's the great thing about having a variety of trainers. They attract different clientele. All said and done, it was time to come to a close. I really enjoyed being back in the fitness industry and learning different things from many points of view. Just goes to show that there is no one way to get something done. I realized I can use a lot of these skills that I learned during my internship and carry them over to my current industry of real estate. There's a lot of similarities now that I think about it. I have clientele who rely on me and my expertise and my knowledge to help guide them in an area that is not so familiar to them. I aim to be just as knowledgeable in my field as the trainers were in theirs. I want to be a better leader in my field just as Brad was in his. I aim to be a more effective communicator in my field and in all of life, just how Brad was in his. I aim to become an expert in my field so I would know how to adapt in any given situation, just like the trainers did in theirs. I aim to celebrate the little victories as well as brush off the small failures to keep my clients motivated and inspired just like the trainers did. I aim to be enthusiastic and cheerful no matter the situation in my industry, just as the trainers did. I thanked all the trainers and Alex for their time, wisdom, and effort in having me as their intern. I would also like to thank NIU for all they have done throughout my college career and helping me develop to the person I am today. I would not be who I am today if it wasn't for my time at Northern Illinois University. Thank you for everything, and I hope the best for you all.